line themselves up. The only problem is that they're edging closer and closer towards the sort of big drainage systems where yesterday alone I was watching big kudu bulls running around, which would make for a perfect meal. But I can hear the go-away birds. I think that they've spotted the lions from a distance and have now been shouting. It's a bit too far away, I think, for all of you to hear. But those birds will also be sitting up in the tops of trees, so would monkeys. And it's actually quite tricky for cats to be moving around like this because the squirrels are out, the monkeys, the birds, they're all trying to warm up after a very cold night. So it puts them in pole position right on tops of the trees. The vegetation is thinning out a lot more now. So it's, well, I suppose it's going to be tricky for these cats. So let's see what they get up to. They're definitely stopping and listening though. Yeah. These guys have been seen. I haven't seen any impala. I haven't actually seen any sign of any prey species just yet. But that's not to say that they're not here, just hiding away, doing what they do best. They're not supposed to stand out. Jada, I just suppose it's the social dynamics. I mean, no one's ever actually asked or been able to ask a lion, why do you guys choose to live together versus, say, leopards that live on their own? And yeah, I suppose it's just kind of how it is. Typically solitary. Well, male cheetahs are very social. They live in big groups. Look at the Fast Five, or the Musketeers, as they're also known as, in Kenya. 5 male cheetah living together. Obviously, then leopards are the secretive, solitary creatures. But in India, there's, you know, leopards that live in groups, but they've had to adapt to their surroundings, and I suppose lack of environment, and this has caused this sort of evolutionary change. But yeah, that's why lions are the most successful cats, is because they do live in groups like this. They're very social. Yeah, they've been spotted by the go-away birds. That's a problem. So that's actually really amazing. I didn't think the go-away birds would be seeing predators from far away. They must be maybe about 200-300 meters away, those go-away birds. But then again, the lions are not really hidden too well, even though they blend in nicely with the grass. Like I said, this time of the day, I always think, first thing in the morning, lions are almost at their most camouflage. Or that sort of golden light against the golden grass. I think that they're virtually invisible, especially when the grass is so tall and they're slinking through it. We know that vervet monkeys and baboons can sit from very, very far away and often shout for predators that are not even close by. This is awesome. I hope they're going to be around this week. Luke, sorry, please can you say the beginning part of that question from Kim? Kim, so yes, I suppose they do change their den sites around, a female will. Not necessarily to follow the pride though. I mean, ideally mom's going to be adamant that she wants those cubs to be safe. She wants to hide them in the safest spot. So if it's not ideal and around the pride, that's just one of those things. She'll catch up with them at another point. But she will also move them because the scent will start to build up in those den sites too. And then things like hyenas, other lions, leopards, baboons, they could all come through and then end up killing those cubs. So mom's not going to keep them in the same spot for too long. I reckon, I don't even know, from my understanding, she's still at the same place, but again, we don't know how old those cubs are. We don't know how many cubs there are. No one has actually seen anything. We've just seen the suckle marks, and some guides have heard some lion cub sounds, as it was described to. Mia's, this is a young male in the pride. Off he goes. He's looking more and more gorgeous every single day. Mane just starting to grow though. He's keen. He's obviously hungry. He actually looks like the fattest out of them all. And they are quite cheeky, these youngsters. They do grab on in and grab as much of the food as they can. Again, I don't know if they managed to eat anything while they were in the West. They probably would have, otherwise I think they'd be a lot more thin. Because the last time we saw them, they looked like they definitely needed a meal. So maybe they caught something like a wildebeest. That would have been a good meal for all of these lions. just walking, sitting down, listening. Haven't seen anything just yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think there's just 2 lions missing here, but maybe there's more up in front. YouTube viewer, there are specific roles, and I think from every pride will be different. Just like when you go out and you play, if you're in a team, some of you might be faster runners than others. You might find here that there's a chaser. There's one lion that has to go out, and I suppose it depends on where they're hunting and what they're hunting, because they have all different types of hunting techniques. And might go out and chase the prey, and back towards the rest of the pride where they'll lay and wait. You'll get some that are the experts at jumping on the backs of animals, that type of thing. So yes, there'll be a role. What role that is for each lion, it's quite difficult to sort of say. See, when we see them hunting, because it's so thick here, it's very hard to get a clear view of actually what's going on. But there is an amazing amount of planning that goes into these hunts, even though they're opportunistic. I wish we could speak the same language as the lions. They're communicating through body language. Simple thing as a flick of the ear or a twitch of the tail could mean, a whole long conversation between 2 lions, and they know exactly what to do and when to do it. And that's why it's important that they're constantly socializing with one another, because the better relationship they have with each other in the pride will obviously mean and lead to more successful hunts, because they'll be able to pick up on each other's cues a little bit easier. So I think there's a lot that we don't understand. I don't think we'll ever be able to understand about these cats and the way that they communicate while they're hunting. Because to me, it's just amazing how I used to see the most incredible things in the Eastern Cape, and there were Blesbok specialist hunters, and in my opinion, a Blesbok is not the most intelligent antelope. I've seen them do some silly things, even more silly things than the wildebeest, and they would spot their prey. They'd all stalk up to a certain point, and the favorite technique of this pride of lions in the Eastern Cape was to basically, there were 2 big males and there were a couple of females, and one male would go with one group of females and the other male would go with the others, and they would go and they'd sit themselves in the long grass and wait, and then the others would flank off in the opposite direction and almost flush the prey out. So actually be bold and walk towards, not trying to conceal themselves, walk towards their prey panics and then runs in the direction that they want them to, where the rest of the lions are just sitting patiently waiting in the grass. So how did they know to do that? I mean, there's obviously a whole lot of communication that we don't know, and that was the most successful way I've sort of seen lions hunting, which was really, really amazing to sort of watch. They had it down to an absolute T. Very clever. See, now the lapwings are coming in. They're also making a little bit of noise now. I wonder if they've heard something down in the drainage line. Like I said, yesterday there were so many big kudu bulls around here, so they could all just be feeding there. If anyone sees young floppy eared and Michael's watching, please tell me. Rita, with a pride of lions, so the girls, they've got a fairly big space. So we saw it quite nicely in the Mara, where they have a core territory where they typically hang around. They have their favorite routes and things like that, and normally there'll be some sort of a watering hole within the area, and that'll be their core territory. However, they'll have almost like a home range that extends out, that if the prey moves out, they also have to be able to move to a point. Obviously they're going to start bumping into other prides of lions if they venture too far away, so they don't normally want to do that. They don't want to get into a fight with another pride of lions, because well, then they're just going to injure themselves and could end up inevitably dying. So most of the animals out here try and avoid conflict at all costs and try and settle their differences other ways. So and that's why they of course are roaring, they're scent marking, as they're advertising, we come through this area every now and then, so if you're going to come here, be careful, you could bump into us. So it does allow for a pride to sort of move out of their core territory and just follow the prey. For instance, with the big buffalo herds, a male lion's territory is massive, though. Remember, with them, they are constantly on the go, and they're not bound to just one pride. They might have 2 or 3 or 4 different prides within their territory, and they're constantly doing their rounds, going in and out, popping in, making sure everyone's right. If there's a female that's coming into estrus in the pride, they'll obviously be mate with them, and then they'll sort of move on again. So with lions, they're fairly flexible with the way that they move around, and especially the females. Hey girl. Yes, your eyes are heavy. That morning sun does that to you. I think I counted 9 lions here. I think there's only 2 missing, and I wonder if it's the youngest Nkuhuma lioness, and of the adults, and then maybe Amber Eyes, because we know that they have a special relationship, those two, and they spend a lot of time with one another, and they do seem to go off together often. So, and I've seen this before with the Southern Pride as well, where there was one lioness that had cubs, and she had her sidekick that went everywhere with her. I think I told you the story. It was actually a lioness that had psychoptic mange and somehow managed to recover from it, and she spent a lot of time with this one, with Mandlev and her cubs. Jake, so let me get a little thing out here for you, so you can have a look, and then you can take a screenshot of this, and it can maybe help you with identification as well of some of the lines. Are you ready? So it's a little bit dirty because it's been in the car, as you can imagine. So here we have the lionesses. So this is just the 5 lionesses that are in the pride here. So the oldest lion of sorry David, the wind caught it there. The oldest lion of the pride is the one with the injury on her where is it, on her hip. And where is she? Where is it? Which one is she again? I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they put any pictures of her. The youngest, Amber Eyes, must be this one. Here we go. So they reckon that she was born 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. So that puts her at almost 10 years old, which is a good age. And then the rest of the lions are fairly young. So they kind of range between 5 years old, some maybe 3 or 4. The youngest Nkuhuma lioness they say she was born in 2014. I wasn't here for any of that, and that's her here. She's got a fairly sort of pink nose too, and that's the one that I think is with Amber Eyes. So these 2 lions often spend a lot of time with one another, so there's only about a year apart, so it's a fairly young pride too. It's not a particularly old pride at all. They just sat up in front. Where are we gonna go? I'm just thinking the vehicles are here. The road is just behind us. You see, I want my next move to be fairly easy. I don't want to do too much off-roading. So we'll go back to the road and then go around. Weaver's Nest is just here. Okie dokie. Well, very nice.